Welcome back to another episode of Those Two Dudes. It's that dude, Josh.
What's that dude, Ruben?
Guys, we are in the Thanksgiving time. As you can see in my background, if you're watching anywhere except Spotify, I got all the dishes in the back. This will air right after Thanksgiving. So I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. But I mean, I'm looking at my background right now. I didn't even pay attention. It's getting me kind of hungry, honestly. That's a pretty solid background I have. Jesus. Yeah, man, super pumped about
that. Another beautiful thing about Thanksgiving, outside of the main thing, being with family and friends and whatnot, is there's a lot of sports going on. You got NBA, you got college basketball, you got NFL, you got college football, and it's crunch time college football. So there's a lot of sports going on.
Lot of sports. And funny you say that. I saw a little debate today, and honestly, I feel like they said it just to ruffle some feathers because there's no way you can absolutely be serious about that. But somebody said NBA Christmas is better than football, Thanksgiving football.
No, that's bonehead. Because look, the reason that's bonehead, there's so many NBA games left after Christmas. Like, who cares who really wins? Like,
yeah,
we still got the majority of the season to go. NFL, they're at least at the halfway point, and then you also get some college football games in there. College football is coming down to the last couple of weeks.
But also keep in mind, all the college football games that are going on now during Thanksgiving, they're all rivalry games. So it's not yet. They are coming down at the end, but these are also the most important games of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so NBA, Christmas, no. That's not. It's nice. It's nice to have some NBA basketball games on while you're eating.
It's nice to have on in the background while you hear your annoying uncle talk about sports that talks about it once a year and talks about, what team does Scottie Pippen play for, but he's been retired for 15 years now. So, yeah, it's nice to have on in the background. But, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's still early in the season. It's not that serious, even though the matchups are probably the better matchups of the year. Yeah, still, it's not great. Also, I've never been super pumped about watching a noon basketball game. I don't know.
Look, Christmas, you still got bowl games going on. Playoffs are in the mix. College football playoffs. NFL's coming towards the end of the season. So you're in the football mode a little bit still at that point in the year. You watch some basketball games, but it's not as important as we already said. So
yeah, for sure. Cool, man. A ton of sports topics to get on. I know we were on hiatus last week. Man, before we jump into all that, obviously with the background, I'm still looking at this turkey with all this gravy. God, I love gravy. Josh, you got any favorite dishes or any unique dishes that you like on the Thanksgiving side?
I don't do ham. So I know a lot of people like the ham.
You don't do ham.
I can't do ham because the ham that you get at Thanksgiving looks like they just cut up a pig right there and just threw the meat on the table. So
you're making my mouth water. All right.
But look, turkey, turkey with some gravy, that's good. But my go-to, I'm a big sides person. I like sides.
Yeah.
So my two favorite sides are green bean casserole. You got to have a lot of the crunchy onions on there. And then also rice and broccoli and cheese.
Okay.
Those are my go-to.
Do you do dressing?
Not a big dessert person. Dressing's good. Yeah, that'll probably be my third.
Okay.
Those two plus dressing. Yeah. Oh, man. Goodness gracious. Get me excited.
Yeah.
What about you?
Kind of same like you said. I'm a big sides guy. I love some turkey. I do love some ham. Honestly, it's probably, if I had to name like the top 5 greatest combinations of all time of anything in life, I think the combination of mashed potatoes and corn is on that list.
Oh, yes. That's a great combo. As a kid, I would put the corn on the mashed potato.
Yes. Oh, I put the corn on the – yeah, you said put the corn on the mashed potato?
Yeah, as a kid, I did that.
That's what I do. Yeah, so
yeah, it's good. It's a great combo for sure.
So that combo right there, that's just an all-time. It's an all-time. And even throw some gravy in there, obviously for Thanksgiving. But, yeah, I mean, I'm anytime – I foresee mashed potatoes and corn in my future. I'm pumped. I will say what's maybe overrated with Thanksgiving is dressing up. Not sure why people dress up to eat at home. So I know a lot of people are dressing up. Not sure why. I think sweatpants should be an official, attire.
Yeah, for sure. It's the time to be comfortable. Hey, but is there any sides or is there anything your family makes that you just can't stand?
I mean, so personally, they're big in the sweet potato game. I hate sweet potatoes. I hate yeast. I hate sweet potatoes. Like just the smell of it too. It's just disgusting. And I know
my family likes. I'm drawing a blank on what they're called, but they're like with tortillas with like some kind of cream cheese in them or something. Man,
cream cheese.
I don't know. I forgot what they're called, but they have it every year, and I can't stand it. It stinks. It's just not good. So yeah, that's my one thing. And then a lot of again, I'm not a big dessert person. I'll eat some maybe if there's some around, but I don't too much care for it.
Yeah, I pretend not to be a big dessert person either, but my family's big on desserts, and they make a very, very popular chocolate cake that I just douse my mouth in. So I'm going all in on that this year. But look, man, it's pumped. We're pumped. I know for us, we're filming now. Thanksgiving's tomorrow, but by the time this come out, Thanksgiving will have already happened. So super excited for that. But let's start covering, a lot of the topics that we did miss. A lot's happened in sports, starting with the NFL. A ton's happened. All these teams that we had in our power rankings keep losing. So, rearranging them in the top 10 is hard. I know I had a hard time doing my power rankings. I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, definitely. The last 2 or so weeks, a lot of our teams in the top 10 have been catching.
Specifically the top 5.
Mm-hmm. So it was pretty difficult. And for the first time this year, I have some teams that actually have more losses ahead of some teams that have less losses than them. So I usually don't do that, but power rankings are a little different than college football rankings. So I do have actually a couple NFL teams that have 4 losses above some 3-loss teams. So there you go.
Yeah. The NFL is tricky like that, man. It's tricky. It's an any given Sunday league. If you don't believe me, watch the Titans play. They'll beat the best teams, and then they'll lose to the Jets and Texans. So that's what the NFL is. But speaking of teams that are just crushing it right now, and surging their way in our top power rankings, the New England Patriots. Man, if I didn't know Tom Brady wasn't on the Patriots anymore, I think that this is the same old Patriots that are going to make the same old Super Bowl run. Are they for real? Are they for real this year?
So first, speaking of the Patriots, they're one of the teams I've moved up over some 3-loss teams. They're 7-4, but they've won 5 straight. So I got them at number 4 in my power rankings. So considering I got them at 4, I'll go ahead and say, and considering the AFC isn't necessarily great, I think they have a legitimate chance at making a push in the AFC. So look, Mac Jones, we know his weaknesses. He's not very athletic. He's not a mobile guy. His arm strength, is questionable. But look, they got the greatest coach in NFL history on their side, and they utilize his strength, which is accuracy. And right now, look, he makes a lot of quick reads, quick throws, balls in and out. And they don't need him to be Superman. They just need him to play his role and be efficient. And that's what he's done. And as long as he can do that, the Patriots know how to build a roster. As long as he plays his role, then they have a chance. As far as the playoffs go, he might have to make some throws as far as down the field goes. And that's yet to be determined necessarily if he can do that on a consistent basis to win in the playoffs. But I think they'll be in the playoffs, and then I think we'll find out. I don't know for sure, but I think they'll be all right. I think with the coach they have, I said when we're talking the draft earlier this year before the draft, we're talking about where QBs should go and where they need to go. I wasn't super high on Mac Jones, but I said if there was anywhere that he could fit and maybe be successful, it was with the Patriots. Patriots were able to get him, and so far it's turned out to be a nice fit. So I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for the Patriots to be back as well. So
the Patriots, that it was a perfect fit for him. The Patriots didn't have to trade up to get him. We thought that they were going to trade up at some point. When the draft happened, they didn't trade up at all. And we thought, well, that sucks. They're not going to get a quarterback. Mac fell right in their laps. The last time the Patriots were led by a rookie quarterback in the season, they won the Super Bowl. That quarterback was Tom Brady.
And like Mac Jones, they didn't ask him to be Superman. He just had to be efficient. He didn't
everything they're asking from Mac Jones, they asked from Tom Brady, and they won the Super Bowl.
If you go look back and look at Tom Brady's stats from those first few years, it was nothing spectacular.
Nothing great. Yeah, there was nothing that made you think, oh, this guy's going to play for 40 more seasons and win the Super Bowls. Yeah, it was all a progression. The New England just asked you to play your role, to do what you're good at. They asked you to do, and it's perfect. I can't sit here and tell you that the Patriots aren't going to win the AFC, and you can't either. No. So because of that, I don't know. I mean, I think they're legit. They have take away Mac Jones, which we know the quarterback is the most important piece of the puzzle here. But take away Mac Jones, the Patriots have the history of going to the AFC Championship game, going to the Super Bowl with the same coaching staff. So they have a good quarterback. I mean, probably the best quarterback out of the draft from what we've seen so far. And so, there's just we can't tell you that the Patriots aren't going to win the AFC. The Browns are falling apart. The Bills, I don't know what the
Bills have been up and down a little bit. So who knows which way they're going.
Kansas City's trending up again. Baltimore, we've always had question marks on Baltimore. And Tennessee, look, we like Tennessee. They were they were up there in our rankings.
They got to get healthy. Tennessee's thing is they got to get healthy. They're banged up, man. Henry's out.
But like I mentioned earlier, like you're losing a home game to the Texans. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to think of your team?
Well, other than that, to be fair, they were very hot until that loss. They do have two terrible losses, which is weird. They're still first.
Terrible losses right now. Two terrible losses.
We do need to get healthy, though. We're definitely banged up. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes.
All that to say, I definitely think that the Patriots are for real, and I certainly can't tell you that they're not going to win the AFC. I mean, hey, Josh, think about this Super Bowl scenario: the Patriots versus the Bucks.
I was actually thinking about that earlier. That would be a great storyline.
Incredible in LA. Incredible.
What if Belichick and Brady both retired after that? There's one last month.
I would hate that. Brady still has 8 more years left of all-star football. Like I refuse to see him retire any sooner than 4 years.
Gee whiz. Yeah, that's crazy. But okay.
It's crazy because it's real. But just the thought of them playing that Super Bowl, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine that. That's incredible. And I know there's always been the argument, well, who won the divorce, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? Why can't both of them win the divorce?
Yeah. I mean, if the Patriots go on to the Super Bowl or something this year, then and Tom Brady already won a Super Bowl last year with the Bucks, then look, at that point, you're like, man, look, these are the best two at their position or their job. That's the best coach ever. That's the best quarterback ever. And that's that. Yeah, they could both win. I mean, right now.
I don't even think that the Patriots, they don't have to win the Super Bowl. They don't have to win the AFC.
No.
I think I think they've, again, why can't both of them win the divorce? I think
if they win their division and they go to the second round or the AFC Championship, then that's incredible. And considering they just lost the best quarterback of all time to the Bucks last season. So, that would be incredible coaching job. Just shows that what Bill Belichick can do with his pieces. I mean, even if they're not great, just give him something that is efficient and he can do it. And we've seen that before. I mean, when Tom Brady was injured midway through his career, I forgot the quarterback's name. That he ended up playing for the Chiefs.
Alex Smith.
No, who?
Is it what quarterback?
he ended up playing for the Chiefs starting for the Chiefs for a while. But
from the Patriots?
Yeah, he was
Tom Brady. About Matt Castle.
Matt Castle, right. He led them to an 11-5 season, I believe, when Tom Brady went out one year. So Bill Belichick, he's proven this, but this would just be some more icing on the cake if they go on to win the division and do something in the playoffs. So and to me, I'm convinced he's the greatest coach. I'm convinced Brady's the greatest quarterback, and that's it. That is what it is. So they can both be successful.
No argument here. Totally agree. I mean, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I think it is cool to see what they're doing post Brady and that the success they're having, and seeing Mac Jones having the success he's having when he was, I think the fourth quarterback picked in the first round.
And he probably got the most, people disliked him the most out of all the.
Yeah, just because he wasn't flashy or super athletic, and
right.
I mean, I think
he played for Alabama, so people thought, hey, he had all these pieces around him. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, people are always still going to pick the flashy and athletic quarterback, but as a quarterback, accuracy is what matters. And so, I mean,
accuracy, being able to read the defense, those are probably the two most important things. And then after that, arm strength as well. But you don't even have to have great arm strength. As long as it's adequate arm strength, you could be successful. So
so super looking forward to that. So from a team on the rise to a team on the fall, the Cleveland Browns. I know we're saying that they're on a fall. They just came off of a win, albeit an ugly win against a winless Lions team that was with their backup quarterback. That was a close win. They're in a dilemma right now with Baker Mayfield. I know we've talked about this on and off, and he's essentially in a contract year. It's not looking good. It's not looking good with Baker Mayfield. Should the Browns move on from him this offseason?
I wouldn't say that yet. Let's let the season play out. I don't hate Baker Mayfield. I think he's an NFL quarterback. I don't know that he's a great NFL quarterback. But again, if you have the right pieces, I don't think you need to be. They still have a chance that in their division. Baltimore, I think, is in the lead at 7-3, but neither of us are completely sold on Baltimore either. They're still in the mix. They can still make a run. They're still half the season to go. So I wouldn't say that yet. Let's let the season play out, and then we can look at that later down the road, in my opinion.
It's tough to say, man. It's tough to say. When you're a number one draft pick, you're going to be more scrutinized than other quarterbacks in the draft, especially someone like Baker that has a very outgoing personality. He says what's on his mind a lot, which is fine. It's fine if you can back it up your play on the field. There are times that he has, and he is responsible for getting Cleveland out of the cellar, which they were for a while. But now they have higher expectations, and Baker isn't meeting those expectations, and fans are booing. And now he has something to say about those fans. So it's like
he can't do that. Like, he's just got to be quiet and do his job. He's not a great, like we said, he's not great. So he can't do that, all that other stuff on the side. He's just got to be quiet, go to work, and do his job. If he does that, maybe some of that smoke will go away, and maybe they'll start winning some games, and nobody's going to be complaining about him. But if he's talking, if he's adding fuel to the fire, that's going to hurt him in the long run, especially if they're not a great team and they're just, say, like a 10-7 team or something like that, and they make the wild card. If he's adding all this extra fuel to the fire, then they'll get rid of him sooner. Just be quiet, do your job, go win for some football games, get your team to the playoffs, and maybe you'll have a job next year in Cleveland.
Yeah. Just definitely don't demand a huge contract, because you're not going to get it. I could definitely see them sticking with them, but at a significantly reduced rate. I just don't know if Baker's the man. So but if you don't think someone is the answer, then that means you're thinking somebody else is the answer. So who else is the answer? Is it someone
you got to ask yourself, who can we get if we do let him go?
Yes.
Right.
And he has to be better than Baker. So,
and he has to, for sure, certainly he's got to be better than Baker, because you don't want to have somebody that he could be, or he could be worse. And you ask can we win with Baker? I think they can win with Baker. I don't know that Baker's going to be the reason they win.
Yeah.
But I think they can win with him as long as he just shuts up and does his job, and doesn't draw distractions to the team and whatnot. So
yeah. Don't talk. You mentioned, if they go 10-7 and he's making a lot of noise and they're going to wild card and they're losing, a lot of people are going to blame him, because if they go 10-7 and everything we just talked about happens, people are going to put it on Baker. No one's going to blame Kevin Stefanski. He for all intents and purposes, he's done nothing but a hell of a job with Cleveland.
right.
Everybody can agree there. So it is on Baker. We'll see. I mean, and also keep in mind, Cleveland is not an ideal place to play. So I don't know that they're able to recruit some top free agents, or, I'm looking at 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that are going to be free agents next season. I'm looking at Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know that any of those 3 want to play in Cleveland.
Yeah. Who knows? Cleveland does have a nice roster, though. So
they do.
They
do.
If you're looking to win now, maybe you go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Rodgers, I just think he ends up in Denver still. What do you think? You think he's going to Denver? You think he stays with Green Bay or somewhere?
So it's funny you say Denver. I think if Denver gets any one of those 3 quarterbacks we just mentioned, they are an extension of what Tampa Bay was last year, because they have the right roster. They have the weapons. They have the running backs. They have the tight end. They have the defense. They just don't have a quarterback at all. And so, man, honestly, if I had to say, honestly, I think, of course, we have to wait on legalities, but I think Deshaun Watson ends up in Denver.
Interesting. Awesome.
But Denver is an ideal place to play. It's a beautiful city. The altitude could get somebody, though. I could see that. But, dude, the roster's there. And I'm sure John Elway and Peyton Manning can vouch for playing in Denver. So, yeah, the roster's there to win immediately. So that'll be fun. But, nonetheless, we'll see how the Browns go, man. Not too sure about that. Should we get into college football next, or you want to talk about some money picks?
No, we could go to college football first.
All right. So just released the playoff polls for the first time ever. A non-power team is in the top 4. Cincinnati. Congrats, Cincinnati. I actually have you at number 3 in my poll. Josh, I'm sure you have them at what, 2?
Yeah, I got them at 2 still.
Okay. So I got them at 3. Is Cincinnati a lock for the playoff?
They're not a lot. Before we go there, at least the college football, the playoff committee, they got the top 4 right. So kudos to them for finally getting a top 4 right. The rest of their rankings are trash, but the top 4 right. So kudos there. Are they a lock for the playoffs? No, they're not a lock. I would never say a non-A5 team is a lock for the playoffs, regardless, until we actually even see a non-A5 get in the playoff. I'm not sold that they'll actually put one in there when it counts. So it's definitely not a lock. If they win out, should they be in? Yeah, but you got to look out for Oklahoma State. I think we both agree on that. Oklahoma State, they only have 1 loss. I think they're 6 or 7 right now in the rankings. They got Oklahoma this week, and then if they were to win that, they most likely have Baylor in the Big 12 championship, who's also ranked like 8 or 9 or something. So they could give them 2 back-to-back top 10 wins, and they could creep up. Now, if they were to creep up, there's another scenario where Cincinnati could still get in if Oklahoma State made it, and that's if Alabama were to lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. So there's a scenario where they can both make it. But say Bama beats Georgia, then you'll have Bama in, you'll have Georgia in. Say Ohio State wins out, they'll be in. And then say Oklahoma State wins out and Cincy wins out. It'll come down as Cincinnati and Oklahoma State for that last playoff spot.
Yeah, I don't think Notre Dame is much of a threat to make the playoff, solely because they lost to Cincinnati. So
not impossible, but they don't have a conference championship game, and
that's going to hurt them this year.
Yeah, and all they have this week is lowly Stanford, who has a terrible record, so that doesn't really boost their resume at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not sitting in a pretty spot. They need a lot of stuff around them to happen to get in. So
Yeah, they need Michigan to beat Ohio State, and then they need Michigan to lose the Big Ten championship game. They need too much. They need too much. Yeah, I'm looking at these rankings too. I mean, I think for the most part they're right. I know you have UTSA at number 5, or I don't know, not number 5, but you have them at number 9 in your poll, which is ridiculous. Like, no, not at all. But then
they
also, no, they're the number 9 seed.
They're undefeated against the FBS schedule. They just beat UAB
by 3 on a last-second touchdown.
Yeah, they were the defending conference champs. Anyways, I digress. They're definitely not 22 or whatever the damn.
No, they're not, and that's the flip side of it. They have them at 22, which they didn't even move in their rankings from their week before.
Here's another one. They got San Diego State, I think, like 21, and they got Utah, who they beat with 3 losses at like 18 or something like that.
They have them at 19, but I think it's because Utah just whooped up on Oregon as bad as they did.
Yeah, I understand that. They still got 3 losses. And then they got Houston like at 24, and they've won like 10 straight.
Yeah. Their only loss was the home opener against Texas Tech.
Yeah, and they had a good lead in that game too. And then they ended up choking it away and they lost. But
they could be undefeated. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, they got them at 24.
I certainly don't agree with UTSA being at 22. I think I have them at maybe like 15 in my poll. But yeah, I mean, it certainly within the top 20 is where UTSA belongs. Because I just can't believe they have an undefeated team at 22. That's just like, I mean, I feel like they made the polls, and then someone says, "Oh, guys, we forgot to add in UTSA." And they're like, "Oh, you're right. Let's put them at 22." Yeah, that's what I feel like.
Pretty much. They're like, look, we have to put them in because if not, we're gonna get so much criticism. So let's just put them at 22.
That's fair. That's fair. They're 11-0, but that's fair. I don't like it. And then obviously talking about the scenarios.
But it's funny. It's funny because they got like every non-power team is lower than where I think they should be. But then they got Cincy in the top 4. So it's almost like they're being told that, look, if we don't pay Cincinnati some respect, they're going to rip us apart. So we got to just have a team up there this one time. But then they might not even finish in the top 4. You know, they're going to be like, oh, we had them there. We really thought they highly of them, but this team beat this team in the conference championship, so they fell out or something. Some dumb excuse. So I'm not sold they're going to keep them in there is what I'm saying.
But also keep in mind, we're saying all this assuming Cincinnati's going to win out.
Yeah, they got 2 tough games coming up.
They have at East Carolina, which is 7-4. So, I mean, obviously no one thinks East Carolina powerhouse, but it's a 14-point spread. Carolina cover the spread, or Cincinnati cover the spread. Spread. So people will just ignore it, and then they'll keep you at 4, maybe put you at 3. And then the next week they'll play Houston in the conference championship game. Again, that's going to be a top 25 ranked team.
Houston would be 11-1 because they got UConn this week. So
yeah. So Cincinnati beat Houston. Stop. I mean, I know they're probably looking ahead, and I can understand why you would, because you just want to get the season over with so you can get that spot in the playoff. But finish the schedule and finish it strong so people are they don't question putting you in the top 4.
The last time that a non-power team had this chance, I think it was Boise State, like in 07 maybe?
Yeah. That was during the BCS days.
They had a chance to finish number 2, and they blew a game against Nevada. I think Nevada made a last-second field goal or something.
At Nevada. I remember that game.
And it kicked them out. But right now, they have a legitimate chance, it seems. But But yeah, like you said, they need to go finish their business, take care and win impressively. Go take care of East Carolina, win by more than 14, and then handle Houston the way you're supposed to as a top 14. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at I don't think Alabama's good. They're in the top 4, I believe. I have them actually at number 4 in mine, but they're not beating Georgia. Like I've seen some wrinkles within Alabama this season that I've kind of never seen before. And the way Georgia is, there isn't a hole on that team. That team.
Yeah, I wouldn't be totally surprised because Bama, they've earned the respect.
I would be surprised
in recent years, but I would be a little surprised because look, Bama hasn't they only have one loss, but they haven't looked great. They lost to a 3 or 4 loss A&M team.
Mm-hmm.
They barely beat Florida by 2. And Florida's terrible.
Florida just fired their coach.
They just fired their coach. They, I think, barely won by 7 this past weekend. Yeah, they played Arkansas, I believe. They won by 35.
Yeah, by 7. Arkansas gave them all the business in Tuscaloosa.
Right. So yeah, they don't look as great as they have in recent years. They're still in position to make the playoffs. But Georgia has looked far and above and beyond.
Phenomenal. Dude, that they look like an NFL team. They look phenomenal. And maybe that is their weakness, is because they look phenomenal. They've never been tested, so we don't know what they would play like under pressure.
But you wouldn't think they'd overlook Alabama at all.
Oh, like no. By no means. Yeah. By no, and I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying if Alabama keeps the game close, we don't know what kind of Georgia team we're going to see because they haven't played a close game all season.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. They haven't really been tested, so who knows how they play under pressure if there is a close game. That's a good point.
And then the scenario, I'm looking at it now, and you're right. Oklahoma State and Cincy could both be in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
It would be Oklahoma, Cincy, and Notre Dame. And they're going to say pick 2 of the 3. Those are your choices. And you're just not picking Notre Dame over Cincy. You're not.
If you did, people would just be outraged. They would just say, throw the committee away.
Can you imagine?
Gosh, yeah, that would be awful. That'd be done. I'd be done. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. But yeah, basically that's what it would come down to if, say, Bama lost to Georgia and all those teams won out.
Terrible, man. Yeah. Oh, man. So, look, you brought up, or we both brought up Florida. They just fired their coach. Josh, I mean, look, you're obviously super big on the G5 schools, representing for those squads in the lower schools and the non-name brands. Mm-hmm. There's a trend coming with all these name brands that just aren't working. It's just not working right now. There's been a lot of fires, a lot of vacancies. Teams like Texas aren't doing good. LSU is looking for a coach. USC is looking for a coach. Washington, Virginia Tech, Florida. I know I'm missing some other teams out there, but who else? Golly, there's a lot of other teams out there, but these are big name programs are looking for a coach in power conferences.
Yeah.
And there just seems to be a lot up in the air right now, man. What would be an ideal coaching position? What if you were the head coach? Where would you want to go?
A good question. Out of what? All the teams. Look,
all the vacancies.
We're not considering Texas because they.
No, don't consider Texas, even though that
Florida, USC. I mean, I guess it would have to be out of Florida, USC, and LSU, right?
And Washington, Virginia Tech.
Nah. It's that. Look, none of those teams are above Florida, LSU, and USC.
Yeah.
So it'd be one of those 3 traditional powers. I'd probably look. The recruiting's great in both Florida and California, but and then even in LSU, Louisiana's a pretty good state, and then you got Texas right there by you, so you can dip into Texas. All 3 of those are great jobs. I don't know. I'd take either one of those. Look, USC's nice because the Pac-12 is not great right now. So With the right coach at USC, I think they automatically become that team out in the Pac-12 again, along with maybe Oregon. But that's about it. You go to Florida, you still got. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably lean USC just because the competition's probably a little lesser, and with the right coach, I think they'd be on top of the Pac-12 right away. So yeah. I lean USC just because of that situation, not having to deal with the SEC. But as far as who do you think? Which of these programs do you think bounces back sooner? For me, if any of them could get Urban Meyer, that's the team that can bounce back this sooner.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's crazy. I think, look, I don't know if Urban Myers necessarily loves the NFL.
He doesn't. He's a terrible coach in the NFL.
If whoever gets him, that's the team that bounces back.
I've heard rumblings about Urban Meyer, obviously being in college. We both heard that. I've heard rumblings about Lane Kiffin moving on from Ole Miss, and I've heard rumblings on Lincoln Riley moving on from OU. Again, rumblings. Nothing set in stone, but
nonsense. I think the Lincoln Riley stuff's nonsense. Lane Kiffin, nothing surprises me with him. So yeah.
I think also Miami might be looking for a coach too.
Yeah. The ACC's not great either, but I don't know. I don't know about Miami, man. They haven't been good in 20 years. I just don't know if that's that they're in position to be that team again. I don't know.
The program that bounces back the quickest, I mean, I think again, right, it does matter what coach they get, but I feel like it would have to be an SEC team because you go if you go 8-4 in the SEC compared to 8-4 in the Pac-12, you're gonna be looked at higher in regards.
You're gonna get ranked. You'll be ranked higher. It's harder to get over the top though, as far as those top two teams go in the SEC. It's harder to get to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
In the Pac-12, you can do it right away if you go to USC. If you have a great coach,
it's tough, man. I don't know, and I don't know if it's a trend where, we're going to start seeing more and more powerhouses, not be a name brand anymore. I don't know. This is crazy. And, who knows? Maybe
Texas, man. I don't know, man. Texas might be in some trouble. I'm not sold on Sark, one.
They're on a 6-game losing streak. They haven't been on a 6-game losing streak since the 50s.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's with all the coaching problems they've had the last two
with Herman and Charlie Strong.
Right. They still didn't have none of that 6-game losing streak.
Right now, Herman is just laughing his ass off, sitting on his couch.
Yeah, probably so. And then on top of that, you lose to Kansas. The Bobcats can beat Kansas. That's how bad.
Coastal Carolina beat Kansas.
Yeah, they tore them up. No, yeah, plenty of teams can beat Kansas. It's mind-boggling.
I watched that game. First of all, I took Kansas plus 31. Thank God.
I don't know.
I watched that game, and I was thinking, man, Kansas is looking really good. Where's this team been all year? And then I realized, well, Kansas is not that good. It's Texas that's not that good.
It's not Kansas that's looking good all of a sudden.
It's not. And also keep in mind the last a few years, Texas and Kansas have had close games. Mm-hmm. The last time Kansas was in Austin, I was at that game, and Dicker, the kicker, he kicked a last-second field goal to win the game, which should have never gotten to that point.
Then they lost the game that ended Charlie Strong's career, right?
In Kansas, yes. And Kansas rushed the field that game.
Ah, my goodness.
I don't know. And it's certainly
Bro, nobody struggles with Kansas on a regular basis. How does Texas struggle with Kansas on a regular basis?
It's definitely the roster. It's the roster, and it's the athletes that are currently there. We don't have a quarterback.
with all that said, Texas still has far superior talent than Kansas. It's mind-boggling.
Oh man, I don't know. A lot of players are quitting on the team. I know one of their top receivers, he kind of quit on the team and he left. So yeah, it's dude. Oh man, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. It's tough. And also like, I'm not so sure that the University of Michigan, that there won't be an open head coach vacancy within the next couple of years.
You think Jim Harbaugh is going somewhere?
Always on the hot seat, man. They're not going to beat Ohio State.
Great this year. I think he's off the hot seat. At least for this year, he's off the hot seat. I guess if they turned around and went like 7-5 next year, then yeah. But he's fine right now. They're doing great. Even if they lose to Ohio State, he's fine.
The game. But, the expectations are you beat Ohio State. That's literally part like when you know how you have a video game and it gives you like stuff to check off to beating Ohio State is on that.
That's one of them, but at the same time you got to be realistic. Ohio State's running the Big Ten right now, and they're running college football along with Alabama, Clemson minus this year. So look. If you go 11-1, your only loss is to them, you're fine. I think. I don't know.
Michigan also lost to Michigan State this year, but yeah, I mean, yeah, and also if they would have beat Michigan State earlier and then they lose to Ohio State, maybe it's like, okay, well, this was still a good year. We had one loss, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I get it. Yeah.
People both your rivals. That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because that's what your fan base judges you on. They some of them are like, well, if we're going to be bad this year, at least I hope we beat the rivals. People think like that. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I guess it's exciting to see, but we'll see where that goes. But speaking of chances and seeing what's what, man, let's talk money picks. Let's go out there, man. What games out there are you seeing? Where's your money at this weekend? Where's it going?
I think my lock. I didn't have no super locks this week. Last week I was like completely sold on Cincy blowing out SMU, and they did.
Oh, they did.
They did. So I actually hit a 5-team parlay last week.
Oh, nice, awesome.
Yep. This week I'm leaning OU over Oklahoma State. +4, not necessarily to win the game, but to keep it close.
Cover the spread.
Yeah, that's probably my number one. Some more I got North Carolina +6.5 against their rival NC State. I got Cincinnati -14. They need to win impressively against ECU. I think they will. They've won every game all their big games this year. They've won by double figures. Like the games that people think they might have a quality opponent. They beat those teams. It's the teams that haven't been great that they've kind of, let hang around or whatnot. So ECU 7-4, they're having one of their best years in a long time. I think Cincinnati -14. I like Cincinnati to cover and go out, and especially this time of year, they need to win.
Okay.
I got Kentucky +3 against Louisville. I think
where's that game at?
Honestly, I'm not sure. It is a rivalry game. Louisville, they've done all right.
Louisville's not bad. Louisville's not bad this year.
Yeah, but I think they struggle against teams that like to grind it out, like teams that have good line play. I'm not sold on Louisville's offense and defense line necessarily. So I'm taking Kentucky +3 in there. I think they're going to take care of them up front. And then I got the Cowboys -7. Look, Cowboys, they've lost 2 out of 3. The big Thanksgiving game. I think the Raiders are in the decline right now. Cowboys, I think they're going to want to go show out on Thanksgiving. So I'm taking them -7.
Okay. Well, then that's different from the line I saw because I saw -8. And
it might have dropped. Different bookies have different spreads sometimes.
That's fair.
Whatever. So I got it at -7 on mine.
Either way, I had the same pick. I had Dallas -8. So I'm with you. I think they are going to show out against the Raiders, especially after putting up the performance they did this past Sunday against the Chiefs, which actually neither team did good, which, we were hoping to learn something from the game, and I don't think I learned anything from either team. The picks I got Oregon -7 against Oregon State. It's at Oregon in Eugene. It's a rivalry game. I think Oregon coming off that loss, they need to show out. So I think they're going to put it to Oregon State, even though Oregon State's fairly decent. Michigan State at home is an underdog against Penn State.
That's interesting.
And so I took Michigan State +1. Maybe I'm not seeing. Maybe I don't know something that the Vegas knows.
I think I would lean that way. I think I would lean that way as well, but I didn't. They're not in my top pick. But if I were going to bet on that, I'd lean that way. Michigan State has been a better team overall throughout the season than Penn State has.
Yeah.
They did get blown out, but I don't think they're one of those teams that, we got blown out, we don't have a chance in the playoffs, we're going to mail in our season. I don't think that's Michigan State. I think they're going to want to go out in the season well, and I think they'll probably get a W in that game.
Wisconsin at Minnesota. Wisconsin's 8-3. Minnesota's 7-4. Minnesota is a 7-point dog at home against Wisconsin. So I'm taking Minnesota +7.
Well, Wisconsin to be fair, Wisconsin's looked really good lately. They kind of struggled earlier in the year, but they bounced back and they're finishing the season strong. Minnesota, they've struggled against the better teams on their schedule for the most part. And they've just been inconsistent regardless.
They won at Indiana last week pretty handily, and then they lost a tough one-possession game at Iowa. So yeah, like I'm looking at they've pretty much beaten the teams that they're supposed to have beaten. Yeah, earlier in the season they did struggle. They lost to Bowling Green. They lost to Illinois, which was an ugly loss. But you have the close games like Iowa. They won on the road at Purdue.
I mean, to me, what I'm hearing is pretty dang just inconsistent.
A ton of
7-4, pretty decent overall record, but just inconsistent stuff. For me, that'd be a hard one to bet on.
I'm betting on it because Wisconsin could still win. I think it's going to be a close game though.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, and then my lock, I have the lock of the century. Write it down, folks. If there's one bet you're going to make, it's going to be this one. It's Ohio State -8. They're going to blow Michigan out this week. Count it. Write it down. Go put your money. Put 100 on it.
Are you sold? You're sold on that, huh?
Ohio State is, far and superior better than any Big Ten team. Michigan State is overrated. Michigan State hasn't beaten anybody this year worthwhile other than the game at Penn State. Michigan. Yeah, okay. Michigan. I think Ohio State, dude, you saw what they did to Michigan State?
Yeah.
Unreal. Like, that's just who Ohio State is. And especially against a rivalry game that call it what it is. Ohio State has been Michigan's daddy. That's just what they are. It's not a rivalry. It's not a rivalry if one side isn't winning and Michigan isn't winning. Ohio State is just blowing them out every single time. This is no different.
Yeah, I was on the fence on that one, but you're selling me, so I might have to throw a few throw a few pennies on that game.
Throw a few thousand on it, no big deal, man. Pocket change. But Ohio State -8, book it, lock it, take it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, man. And I think especially this time of season, you kind of obviously games you'll still have upsets and stuff you didn't see coming, but it's a little bit easier to figure out, the spreads this time of year compared to earlier in the season. Just a tad bit easier.
I always feel like the best weeks are early on for me. I feel like I get the best value because the bookies, they may not know exactly what each team has because of roster changes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But whatever. You do also know more about these teams at this point in the season, so it goes both ways, I guess. But
yeah,
I like my odds earlier in the season. But anyways, I had a nice week last week, so I'm not complaining. I hit a 5-teamer and I hit a 2-teamer last week. So
nice.
It's pretty good.
So, all right. So college football, we love college football. We'll be all over it in our sweatpants during Thanksgiving. Switching on now to the hard court. It's still early. There's always drama. You know, you had the LeBron suspension, that little scuffle that they had, it's whatever. But I am intrigued on some, teams that are doing noticeably impressive and teams that aren't doing so hot, which we thought they would be on a hot start. A couple teams I'm looking at are Chicago being 12-6 with essentially a whole new team than they had last year. And then also I'm looking at, speaking of LeBron, I'm looking at the Lakers who are 9-10. And this is all as of today. That's crazy. That's kind of crazy because if the playoffs started today, which they don't, the Lakers wouldn't be in the playoffs. They're currently in the 9th seed, 9-10. Bulls are 12-6. I know there's a couple other surprises out there. Who's the bigger surprise for you?
The Bulls. The Lakers, they're coasting. They're trying to figure out exactly how to make this work. I didn't like their moves in the offseason in the first place. I don't like they got older players. They got LeBron. He's old. Yes, he's still great, but he's old. Then they add more older players to the roster. You add Westbrook. That really doesn't make sense to me. So I don't really like the way the roster's constructed. So I'm not completely sold that I'm not completely surprised that they're having a bad start. They got to figure it out. They have the talent. They have talent, and they have arguably the best player in the league still. So I do think they'll figure out enough to at least get in the playoffs. But I'm not sold on them going winning the West. That's for sure. To me, I like Phoenix. I just really like the way Phoenix's roster is put together. They're off to a great start. They're 14-3. But as far as if you ask me out of just the Bulls and the Lakers, I'd say I'm more surprised by the Bulls. They're 12-6, like you said, new roster. They added DeRozan from the Spurs, who I'm personally not a big fan of, but he's averaging I think 26 points a game right now.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm more surprised in the Bulls. But they got Zach LaVine, he's a scorer. DeRozan, he's a good scorer in the regular season. They got Vucevic as well from the Magic, I believe, last year during the season. I do like him. I like him. He's one of the better centers in the league, in my opinion, overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really good. And they also added Alex Caruso too, which has played a big role with the Bulls.
They added another nice role player to their roster. So they're a team, I think, looking at their roster now and how they're doing, I think they can have a successful regular season. I don't think they could compete in the Eastern Conference playoffs as far as for a championship spot or coming out of the East. I just don't think they have the makeup to do that. Mm-hmm. But they're doing good right now, which is kind of a surprise. They haven't done good in years, so kudos to them.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's the Bulls. They are the more surprising. I wasn't high on anything what the Lakers did this offseason. And at some point, a lot sooner than later, either the Lakers or LeBron or both are going to have to look at themselves in the mirror and realize we can't depend on LeBron like we used to, or LeBron isn't this guy where you can just throw into your roster and be like, okay, we're a title contender. Like, no, like age is catching up. Age is a real thing, contrary to what you see with Tom Brady, but age is a real thing in the NBA. This is why LeBron's playing 60% of the season. And, they'll make a run in the playoffs. They'll go to the playoffs. They'll be fine. They'll make a run, but they're not doing themselves any favors, not trying to get a good positioning within the playoffs. So when, playoff times come, you have some home games or you have home court advantage. You certainly don't want to make that playoff push on the road. And then also keep in mind, you got teams like Phoenix, which is just coasting. I think Phoenix is on they're on a 13-game winning streak.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So I seen the record and I seen they're doing great. And I looked at the roster. I glanced over the roster again. Basically the same roster from last year.
Pretty much.
I really like the roster. I really like the way they're put together. They got the right pieces at all the positions. They got tons of wings. That could shoot threes and play defense. They got one of the best point guards still.
They got the big man.
Yeah. So I really like the way they're put together. And they've had another year to gel with each other.
That's what I like the most out of Phoenix is that they've been here before. now.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't say that last year. You can say that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All them young guys have got that experience now in the playoffs.
And they're super hungry. And I like
They've
that.
all got a year to play with Chris Paul now. This is Chris Paul's second year with Phoenix. So, yeah, I think, look, they might have a chance in the West this year, especially with the Lakers. Who knows what they got. Yeah, I think Phoenix has a great chance.
Yeah, and then look, they have a chance, but who's the team that's above them? The Golden State Warriors.
Oh, Golden State, yes.
If you stopped watching basketball for 2 years, then you would think, oh, this is the same Warriors team as all the other title contending teams. Sure, it probably is, because Steph Curry is playing Steph Curry basketball, being one of the greatest shooters of all, if not the greatest shooter of all time. And they're doing this without Klay Thompson, which comes back in December. So
yeah, that's probably, if you want to talk about surprises, that's probably the biggest surprise of the season so far. They've got 2 losses. They've only lost 2 games.
They've lost 2 games.
Doing this without Klay Thompson. So yeah, I look at that and I'm like, wow. Imagine when they get Klay Thompson back.
And it's crazy because that's their core. Their core was Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, and they have that kind of going back to basics for them.
Exactly.
And Andre Iguodala is there too, who was part of the initial.
Oh, he's back. I didn't even know that. I haven't gotten him
with the Warriors
yet. Look, wow, yeah, that's nice. Nice role player, nice veteran in the locker room there. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great surprise. Bulls are looking good, though. I think what I really like most about the Bulls is Lonzo Ball. Obviously we have our opinion on the Ball family and the dad there and how outgoing and crazy he is with what he has to say. But it's definitely not – they don't talk enough about Lonzo Ball and what he's done to change his game to fit the NBA. He grew up with this shooting form that was so wacky, and they just rolled with it. He gets in the NBA, and they had to change his entire shooting form. And he did. He put the work in to change that shooting form, and it's gotten better. Now he's shooting better. And it's kind of crazy, something like that doesn't happen often. And so it's an exciting roster. It's fun. They're high flying. There's a lot of alley-oops, dunks, and everything, fast break stuff with the Bulls. But like you said, I don't think the longevity of it, I don't know that they could compete to actually, challenge for the East against bigger teams like a Brooklyn or like a Milwaukee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I mean, obviously there's still a ton of NBA to be played, so we'll kind of see how that goes. Kind of tailing off here, man. We talk about the big sports all the time: football, basketball, baseball, everything in between. One thing that I wanted to bring up is boxing. And with boxing, specifically within the last year or so, there's all these celebrity fights that have happened, and we just got another one, man. Another little celebrity fight. It's a former NFL running back who, honestly, I thought was still in the NFL, Frank Gore, versus Darren Williams, former point guard in the NBA, Utah Jazz for a long time. Then he played with the Nets for a little while. They're boxing each other. Mm-hmm. First of all, it's a 2-part question. Who do you think wins? And then secondly, is this good? Is stuff like this good for boxing? These celebrity fights that are doing it clearly for money.
To answer the first part of the question, that's kind of tough. I imagine Darren Williams has the longer reach. I think Frank Gore is probably.
He's like a brick wall.
More willpower, more of just a solid ball of muscle. Maybe a little strong, maybe stronger. I'm not sure. That's tough. I guess I'll go with the person with the longer reach. I'll probably go Darren Williams, I guess. To answer the second part, I don't know. I don't know if it hurts. To me, I'm not huge into boxing, so I don't really think about it too much. When you first posed the question to me earlier in the week, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know that it really hurts it or helps it at all. I think it just is what it is. It's just a quick money grab. And but as you asked me again, I was kind of thinking, well, I mean, it does seem a little gimmicky. Like, if anything, maybe it kind of waters down the sport. Like, it makes it more of just like a freak show type thing.
Sure.
Like what the hell is this? Like,
Yeah.
how are we going to take boxing serious when this is what y'all are throwing at us so often now? Maybe if it was like once in a blue moon type thing, I think maybe it'd be all right. But it does seem to be happening frequently now. So
Yeah, it does. It does.
I don't know. I guess I don't like it. I don't know. If boxing was my favorite sport, I don't think I'd like it.
It's tricky, man. It's definitely a double-edged sword. I mean, because we saw people like Nate Robinson, when he took on Jake Paul, and Jake Paul embarrassed him, knocked him out. And then you see people like Chad Ochocinco. He was in boxing, and then now you see this fight. It's a double-edged sword because on one hand, you're drawing attention to the sport of boxing, which
from viewers that maybe don't always watch boxing.
Correct.
It's
like you and I, we're talking about it, right? We wouldn't normally be talking about this. So
right.
You're drawing attention to boxing, which there's no such thing as bad publicity. So people are paying to see these pay-per-view fights. They're paying to see everybody on the card, specifically, whatever bout that they're wanting to watch that has these athletes or celebrities fighting. So that's anytime you can get eyes on the sport, obviously that's something you'd be all in. But then the other side of it is, are people like Jake Paul or these other guys, are they taking over now people that are credible boxers and taking their place in the spotlight, and they're taking over the work that the initial fighters put in to get to where they are. And now it's just being overshadowed because this guy has more Instagram followers. So
definitely.
I don't know, man. I think I would err on the side of it is good for boxing. I hate Jake Paul, but I'm gonna watch his fights because I want to see him get knocked out. I think everybody does. But then also you're watching people that are real fighters on the same card. So, it's definitely a double-edged sword, but at the end of the day, more and more people are, at least on the athlete side, on the entertainment side.
Certainly the people that are putting these fights together think it's a good thing, because if they didn't, then we wouldn't continue to see it as often as we do. So somebody thinks it's a good idea. So
yeah. And look, if Fox Sports and ESPN, if they're talking about a Jake Paul boxing match, then maybe it's more serious than we're leading on to. So, I mean, it's obviously news, it's entertainment. And at the end of the day, look in the history, Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, some of the best boxers of all time, they were entertainers. That's what made them the money watcher. Look, Conor McGregor,
UFC, also the best boxers.
I understand that. But if you have somebody that is maybe quiet.
If you're a pure boxing fan, do you like this?
I don't know. We have to bring on a pure boxing fan. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. I don't know.
Like, I guess so. Like, you're a basketball fan. Would you want to see some celebrity just thrown into an NBA game? Like, I don't know.
I mean,
not on a consistent basis, right? Like one time, maybe like, oh, shoot, this will be pretty interesting. Let me see how this looks.
I certainly don't watch. I don't watch the celebrity NBA game or the All-Star game.
Exactly.
But if we're talking a one-on-one, like, would you watch? Like, okay, look, here's an example. During COVID, during the quarantine, they started the celebrity, the benefit golf match where it was like Tom Brady and Tiger Woods versus Phil Mickelson and Peyton Manning. So 2 real golfers versus 2 non-golfers. And that was a thing. Like that was a very highly watched thing on TNT or whatever it was on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, is that good for the sport? I guess it is.
But golf is good. Like that's not something you're seeing all the time. That just
because it's a charity thing. It's not anything that's overtaking. You're not putting them in a tournament versus other people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't even know any hardcore boxing fans out there. So drop a comment if you're a real boxing fan and let us know, because I just don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I do know that I'll be illegally streaming these fights because I want to see them. But yeah, I mean, it's still entertainment nonetheless. But yeah, that's everything on deck, man. I'm super pumped. This will come out after Thanksgiving. Again, I'm looking at my backdrop here. I don't know who made that food, man, but I got to comment whoever made that, because that looks like a really good spread right there.
They definitely got some nice side dishes back there. I think I see stuffing, mashed potatoes, corn. Is that mac and cheese and green beans?
Yeah, yep, and cranberry sauce and gravy.
You can miss me with that cranberry sauce, but everything else there, yeah, it's looking solid.
Yeah, you got them pies in the background. Look, all staged for a nice photo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure half of it is fake. But no, that looks good, man. I'm pumped for that. But as always, man, follow us. Instagram, Those Two Dudes Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Those Two Dudes, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify. Check us out. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know about, this boxing. Is it good for boxing fights like this? Is Cincinnati going to make the playoffs? Are the Bulls a serious threat in the East? And are the Patriots gonna make a run, man? Are they gonna be in the Super Bowl this year without a Tom Brady? That's crazy. It's crazy to think, but that's still fun nonetheless. But let us know in the comments, like and subscribe, push them notification bells that Josh always talks about. Thumbs up, share with your friends, hit us up, man. It's been that dude, Josh.
That's that dude, Ruben.
Push the button. See y'all.